All right, here's the watch list for Monday, April 13th. I'm going to start with JMEI. Nice little breakout. I guess this would have been, Wednesday, then Thursday and Friday kind of flagging. So I still want to watch this for a potential breakout to the upside. That's going to be based on an intraday setup. DGLY, don't really need this line there anymore. A very nice 2-day run here. It did come back in, and I didn't even have this on watch. I've been talking about this one a lot lately. We had a couple nice trades in it these 2 days. I didn't even have it on watch on Friday because I felt like, a big run from here to here, it had to come in. Well, it did come in. I almost want to see another red day first, but you never know. This story that's moving DGLY, which was the cop shooting a 50-year-old man running away from him in South Carolina, is a big deal. And the video is horrific if you didn't see it. You might not want to, but you can't help but think that that is going to finally lead. I mean, it's right there on video for everybody to see. You can't help but think that's going to finally lead to legislation and basically a requirement of a digital camera on every police officer in the country. I mean, if you're a police officer and everything you do is being filmed, you're probably going to act right. So it should save a lot of lives and a lot of problems and everything. So I think it's going to go that way. This is all speculation. But this is also, couple that with it's a low float, a lot of shorts in it. So it's really just on the chart alone, forget the story, is pretty darn primed. I never did draw this trend line, but you can kind of see there, that this gap up broke the trend line, it came back down, and now it's really, I just think this is headed a lot higher based on everything I've just said. So this one red day, maybe that's enough for the bounce play to come into play. So I'll be watching that one closely for a new trade on Monday. SYRX, 12.5 million shares. This would have been, Tuesday? And then 3 days lower on continually lower volume, back down to the 8-day. I just want to watch this one for a potential pop. It seems pretty thin, but it doesn't cost me anything to have it on watch. QURE gapped up on big volume. I still have a line there. I think that was the pre-market high that day, if I'm not mistaken. And now you're just lower every day. And this was, almost 36 up here. 35.50 was the high. And now we're down, $8, something like that. And we're, to the most recent highs, kind of like the breakout area would have been, if you didn't have the gap, the breakout area would have been above 28. And now we got back down there, and decent volume. So this might be ready to finally turn back up. So I have QURE on bounce watch. BIND gapped up last week. Looked like it was going to sell off, and it's really holding up well. And you have a kind of a big day. Didn't take that much volume to get it up above recent highs now. Let me see this high back here in February. 675. I'll be darned, it hit 675 on Friday. So I'm just going to throw a line there and call this a long at 676. It's not guaranteed that if it touches 676 it's going to rip, but that is certainly an interesting area. And remember, this day back here in January, it gapped up, and that wasn't an errant tick. It actually ran all the way to 10. We had a huge gap play on that one that day. And so then you had lower highs, lower lows, and now that's starting to turn. So this one might just rip next week. So I really want to watch that. I definitely like it over 675. AXN, this is a quiet one. Kind of had a trend line drawn here. It tried to break out on Thursday, didn't follow through, and then Friday put in a high $1.82 on Friday, and Thursday the high was $1.97. So let me go to 15-minute candles. I can't help but think if this gets up to maybe $1.84, it might retest and then maybe break through Thursday's highs, and then continue to head up to that 230 area. So it's very quiet though. I guess there's been no news for a while, and so it's really just kind of gotten into a tight formation. But I might be interested in this one if it gets any volume up around $1.84-ish on Monday. BCLI really tried to break out. This one had this huge gap up here and then finally popped here. Little double top, came back down, finally got above that area, came back down, and then tried to rip through that on Friday. It went as high as 495. It ended up closing at 463. So if you go to 5-minute candles, if this gets up around, I don't know, 477, that's a little bit arbitrary, I understand, but you can kind of picture a trend line there, and it's going sideways. So up around 477 might be enough to get this to push back through 495, and then anything goes, because there's really nothing in the way. So that's an interesting number, but it's not etched in stone for me. It's just kind of an area that I'll be watching. GPRO, GPRO. I drew a line there at the kind of the recent highs, and it snuck through there on decent volume on Friday. And there it is on 60-minute candles. So I'm just looking for a possible continuation. This gets above 46, it really might get going. So I'm just looking for a possible continuation on GPRO. And you can, let me draw a trend line here. You can see just visually, you can see a trend line break recently. Recently meaning really probably a few weeks ago, right? It kind of broke this trend line going sideways and now starting to head up. So it is fairly interesting to me for a long. We'll watch GPRO on Monday. FRO, again, another trend line break. Not that hard to see, right? On decent volume. So this would just be looking for a continuation move on Monday. Over 268. Let's see. Monday's high or Friday's high was 267. So you could put 268 in your notes if it hits 268. Look at the intraday action. I mean, 268 isn't great. If this had popped to 267 in the first 15-20 minutes on Friday and then kind of gone sideways, so it consolidated over time, I would like it more at 268 than I do. 268 is a little bit of an arbitrary number now because it's just climbed all day, but maybe this opens in the 250s, goes sideways for a couple hours, and then breaks to the upside, and we can have a nice trade. So, I mean, I couldn't possibly go over all the possible scenarios that could happen on Monday, but I definitely want to have FRO on an intraday chart. CLNE on earnings back here, huge volume, 12.5 million shares, and it went up to, what was the high, 625 a few days ago. It spiked up to, looks like 606, and then on decent volume, and then again on decent volume on Friday, it popped up to 6. So up over this 605, 606 area, you might retake that and maybe break through that 625, and then this chart looks really good. So CLNE 604, 626, 24% short, at least according to FinViz. 604, 626 are a couple possible catalysts above, all right? And then a little bit obscure, but RGLS did gap up on decent volume on Wednesday. Looked like it was just going to give it all back on Thursday. And then on Friday, it held up pretty well. So if I switch to 15-minute candles, that was good volume at the open on Wednesday. So I kind of like this one over Friday's high, which I give you a price would be over 1790. It might just start to head right back up to the highs of that gap. So, you'll have the whole number 18 to contend with and so on. But not my favorite one, but I do want to have RGLS on a chart because when it does move, it moves really well, as you can see back here. So that is my list going into Monday. We'll also add some gappers in the morning and trade those as well. But, this looks like a pretty decent list to go into next week. All right, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you guys on Monday.